Well, Professor Mojisola Adeye joins us now, the Director General of NAFDAC. Good morning, Prof, and thank you for joining us today on the program. Well, yes, lots of expectations and trying to find out, having approved it. So if you could start by telling us, what kind of considerations went in, and when you say for emergency use, what does that translate practically into?
Thank you so much for having me. Emergency use authorization is a temporary approval pending submission of other data that we then lend it to full licensure. Emergency use authorization is usually given during a pandemic or a crisis, but it is, I mentioned that pending gathering more data. Yes, even for the emergency use authorization, enough data must be present in the dossier. The dossier is the application package that has everything from the beginning of the research to the end of phase 3 clinical trials. It's a long process usually, but for the COVID vaccine took about a year. So we give this emergency use authorization using two mechanisms. One is reliance. We wait for stringent regulatory countries to approve the particular drug or vaccine in this case, and there's a lot that will have gone into that. A lot of scrutiny based on scientific evidences and so on. If such countries approve the vaccine, in this case the vaccine, then we look at their report, meaning NAFDAC. We look at their report, digest every line of the report to make sure that whenever we get our own dossier, the same dossier that was sent to them, whenever we get our own dossier, we will have understood some of the peculiarities that may be unique for that product. That was exactly what we did for COVID vaccine. For AstraZeneca, it was approved by UK Medicine Agency, and we had access to their report. This was maybe a month or 6 weeks ago. We were looking at the report pending when we will get our own dossier.
Madam,
and of course, our staff are also being trained because of COVID vaccine, because it's a unique particular product.
Well, clearly
so, sorry, please.
My apologies. Clearly, from all that you have said, it would seem like not all medical experts agree. And I'm sure you are aware of some of the concerns that some of the medical practitioners have raised along this particular line, questioning the processes through which we had to go through before we were able to bring this to bear. Part of the concern probably would be, from what you have said, that there are other countries who have approved this, and consequently we wait for them to do the needful before we now approve. But then, you have also said this, that we have a different genetic construct from some of these other countries, consequently, for which reason it would seem like we're not having it as bad as many of these countries that you reference. So then the question of why the emergency, and for how long is this emergency going to last?
Thank you very much. You brought up a good point. There was a lot of struggles before we were able to get this first dossier. And at the beginning, people started wondering, why do you need the dossier? And I just wondered, why do we need the dossier? So we will get something, we will get a vaccine into our country, and we will not know anything about it. And that underscores your point. most of the clinical trials that are being done on these vaccines were done using Caucasian population. And because of genetic differences, even the same siblings, siblings of the same parents, have differences in the way they handle medicines. So I said, we cannot get vaccine into Nigeria without the dossier. No COVID vaccine without NAFDAC looking at the dossier and reviewing it. That is why we are using active pharmacovigilance for any vaccine that is going to be approved by NAFDAC. What is active pharmacovigilance? When somebody gets the shot or the vaccination, we start monitoring that individual for about a year, just to be sure that first, there are no side effects or adverse drug reactions, and if there are, what are they? Are they different from the ones that they observed in Caucasian population? That is the richness of research. The fact that they have not done it in our own climate, with our own people, we can say it's okay. But what of when it gets here? We have to monitor the individuals. And we're going to be using what is called Med Safety App. It was launched late last year by the Honorable Minister, actually. So it is a Med Safety, it's an app that anybody can download that is very literate, but it is meant for healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, and pharmacists, and so on. So that when a person gets this shot, this vaccination, there is a means to record what is happening. Oh, I got vaccinated today, my arm is sore, I have fever, I'm tired. The individual can enter that, the side effects or the observed side effect into the app. And we will collate the reports in NAFDAC. And it's not just that, it's going to be translated to a huge database in Uppsala, Sweden. But more importantly is that we are trying also to make sure that we study the differences, because this is going to be used by different countries in Africa, and Nigeria is one of them. We're going to check the differences even among ourselves, and then check the differences between us and other countries. So we are putting safeguards in place, and we are doing this in collaboration with primary health, with NCDC. It is not what one agency can do. Thank you.
Yes. But for what you have said, it will sound like we are yet to have any trial on any Nigerian. Has that been done? If not, what's the plan to do that so that as you have also said, we can be sure that it is good for us in our climate?
Yes, that's also a very good question. We're going to vaccinate millions and millions of Nigerians. Primary health is going to vaccinate millions and millions of Nigerians. We're just going to be observing the pharmacovigilance. But your question is, how do we now condense or crystallize a group of people that we're going to do clinical trials on? There will be sentinel sites, 12 sentinel sites in the country, 2 per geographical zone. It is at that sentinel sites that more observation will be done, a more rigorous observation will be done, and better designed approach to how many patients, what are the ages of these patients, and so on. So to answer your question, this concerted observations will be done at the sentinel sites, at not all sentinel sites, at selected sentinel sites.
Well, we understand that, some of the reports we came across indicated that NAFDAC must have gone through the dossier of the vaccine development processes. I think the clinical trials, phase 1 and 2, So from all that you've seen, is this vaccine going to be effective for all the lineages of the virus in Nigeria?
For AstraZeneca, it has been reported that the variants from UK will not impact the efficacy of AstraZeneca vaccine. The variants from South Africa affected the effectiveness or the efficacy. So that is the confidence that we have for the AstraZeneca vaccine. But there will be studies going on by NIMA, NCDC, the Genomic Center in Ede, to continue to sequence the virus to ensure that these variants from from South Africa have not cropped into our own climate. So to answer your question, I believe that the AstraZeneca vaccine will work or will not be impacted rather by the variants.
Because some scientists in UK, in fact, did also say that the B1525 strain of the virus that was found in Nigeria in December, which has now been found in the UK, they raised concerns that the AstraZeneca vaccine may not be as effective. It may be blunt concerning this vaccine. Have we examined those concerns that they've raised?
Actually, that is a very good question. Until you start giving the vaccines to people and monitoring them, you will not be able to get an answer to that question. Meaning, until we start giving the vaccine in our own country and monitoring them, we will not be able to answer it. So it's part of this pharmacovigilance that we are talking about.
Perhaps that also raises another question, madam, which is, from what you have said, and every scientist known so far have said, coronavirus is very new. So at every point, we seem to be learning by the day. So we have just talked about one variant, there's another variant, B117, and a good number of other variants here and there. And who knows what other mutation is going to occur tomorrow. So how does this particular vaccine address this and future possible mutations of coronavirus disease?
We can only go with, and that is the richness of science. You can only go with the evidence that you have at hand and then start investigating. It is a new virus. The vaccines are very, very new. A lot is being learned every day. NAFDAC went through so many meetings, workshop since April last year, just to be able to, first of all, know the nature of the disease, and even the nature of the disease is still unfolding. So it is good for us as Nigerians to be part of this study, because we don't know what is going to be the next pandemic. And we cannot now say we will never have pandemic. People have been saying that it's going to be almost every 10 years or whatever. So we have to, and that is even the more reason why we have to develop our own vaccine, local vaccine manufacturing in Nigeria, so that we will have done so many trials before we approve, or before the vaccine is manufactured, and then it is approved, hopefully. So we have to join the global world in terms of research. We have to pump money into research, because as we can see now, coronavirus has taken over the world. There is no country that is exempt, whether it is local manufacturing of vaccines or local manufacturing of our own regular products. We've got to put money into it. Without that, we are not secure at all. no drugs, no drug security, no health security if we don't put attention to local manufacturing, whether it's vaccine or normal therapeutics.
Well, that raises some, because I mean, in that same piece, they did say that that Nigerian strain carries the E48K mutation, which spike protein, which is similar to what they found in South Africa. And they said that that spike, it believes it helps coronavirus dodge immunity and antibodies. Are we limited in terms of the independent work that we'll carry out here, comparing, for instance, what we've seen in South Africa and Nigeria? What are you going to be looking out for, having seen that these challenges existed in the variant in South Africa, so that we can avoid some of those pitfalls here?
Yes, that is one thing that I think of every time. But you know, we have capability in Nigeria. NIMA, NCDC, the Genomic Center in Ede, they have capability to sequence the virus and know what is going on. It was NCDC DG that told me last week that the variant, that was last week, that the variants that have been found in Nigeria are similar to those of UK. If now we have found something new that is similar to South Africa, we will take care of it. We shouldn't be afraid of science. The most important thing is to make sure that our people are protected. Their health is not compromised at all.
Well, Madam, I just want a little bit more clarity on what you said about trials in Nigeria, so that there is no ambiguity about it. How soon are these trials going to take place, and how effective? What are your hopes about its effects and all of that on us as a people?
Yes, I've discussed with experts in virology, vaccinology, and the type of trials we are talking about is not the usual 150,000, 100,000 people. This would be an abridged trial, just to find out, with smaller population, just to find out whether something is impacting the efficacy of what we have right now. So in terms of whether it is possible, I was talking with a professor from Osman Danfodio University last week, and they are already thinking of it. That university and IRUA are developing vaccine for Lassa fever. We have the capability to do it, but in terms of clinical trials, I believe we're going to all get on a steep curve quickly now that the vaccines are coming in, to know that we can do it. To do clinical trials, if it is well focused, it's not a big problem. It is because it's not like you're going to house them. You're not going to house them, but you have to have a strong team to monitor them, because you're going to give it to them and then they go to their homes. Since they are not incapacitated, it is monitoring, and that is part of what these selected sentinel sites will do.
In other words, this plan is in place.
The plan is not in place as we speak, meaning there is no building set up to do it. But when you have health centers, we have health centers. That is where these people will be coming in. So let's say that you have in Ibadan, a particular health center, and that health center has been chosen as a sentinel site. The patients will come in. It is all about protocol design, clinical trial protocol design. Okay, we're going to look at 300 patients or people rather at this site. And we're going to vary their ages so that we are not biased to one age. And this is what we're going to be doing for the next 6 months or for the next 2 months or whatever, maybe to start with that. So it is a matter of sitting down and focusing. And my colleagues are thinking seriously about that now as we speak, all over the country. I'm talking of the scientists.
Well, it's interesting how you say that we're just thinking about it, because some people will say that shouldn't have been one of the first things that we did before the vaccines were approved for use in Nigeria. We had seen earlier that some of the dailies had reported that we couldn't afford clinical trials. There are huge questions as to how then did we say that this was okay for our population?
Actually, most countries that have received the vaccines, one vaccine or the other, are not even going through clinical trials as we speak. I was at a workshop last week, and it's still being discussed because nobody knew, well, people didn't know about the variants, whether it will impact it or not. So most countries are learning as they go along, and Nigeria is not an exception. But like I mentioned, talks are taking place right now in terms of how many patients are we going to use for an abridged clinical trial. I've gone through clinical trials, from some of my own products before joining NAFDAC. We are the ones that will approve the clinical trial protocol, and NREC, National Research Ethics Committee, that is domiciled at the Ministry of Health. It is not going to take that much. We are talking about it right now.
I've been discussing with what we're saying is that this is okay. I don't know if you can hear me. The vaccines are okay, approved for use in Nigeria. We can go ahead and administer them on citizens. However, we will still be doing clinical trials for them. Is that what you're saying? And if that's what you're saying, how does this help in a situation where we have vaccine skeptics?
Okay, when you are going through, when a product is going through development, you have preclinical stage, then you have the clinical stage. For the clinical stage, you have phases 1, 2, and 3. All these vaccines have gone through phases 1, 2, and 3. At phase 3, most of the vaccines had 20,000, 40,000 people already that were vaccinated and observed for a specific time. So the clinical trials have been done on these vaccines. What we are talking about now is post-marketing, what we call phase 4 trial. Everything has been done, the data has been collected on each of the vaccines that was approved. But you have post-marketing surveillance or pharmacovigilance, where you now start collecting more data. So for anybody watching, clinical trials have been done on these vaccines. We are just, because it was not done in our own climb, within our population, we are taking it more seriously to do post-marketing surveillance, which is active pharmacovigilance in this case. So I hope that I'm clearer in my explanation that all these vaccines went through phase 4. In fact, we have those there. Sorry.
Could you, in addition to the points you were making or still going to make, could you just also speak to, now that you said, yes, you're taking those clinical trials very seriously here, because the first trials, all phases were not done with, people back home here and our kind of people. But what measures are in place in the event that the kind of outcome you get is clearly maybe not what was expected? Do we have plans to handle that?
Actually, yes. Let me quickly make things clearer. When I say that for the clinical trials phases 1, 2, 3 that are taking place, for all these approved vaccines, that it is in Caucasian population. I was talking generally. For Pfizer BioNTech, for example, about 10% of the population of the people that were used in that clinical trial were African Americans. So it's not like there is no black person, or African American person, or African person rather. So it is about relative number of people. But going back to what I was trying to say before, we have received 3 full doses and 1 yet to be received. Actually 4 full doses, 1 yet to be received. One of those 3 presented in their dossier convincing evidence for us that it worked at phases 1 and 2. But we told them point blank that we cannot move on until you do phase 3 or you complete phase 3. So NAFDAC is not approving dossier for emergency use just like that. No. It doesn't matter how great the results are in phases 1 and 2. In phase 3, that involves thousands, we need the data. The 3rd one that we also approved, they've done even 22,000 people in phase 3, but we still had a lot of issues which we raised, the vaccine committee raised, and sent to them. We're expecting their results. So what I would like to tell the watching audience is that NAFDAC will not approve anything that is going to hurt our people. We take, it's premium to us. And the phase 4, or the pharmacovigilance post-marketing surveillance that we are talking about, is supposed to be done for all drugs, whether vaccines or normal therapeutics, meaning a new drug that is coming to the market. Because during the phase 3, we are talking of thousands. What of when millions are using it? Will you still have similar side effects, adverse drug reactions? It is a continuation of watching the effect, if I want to use the word loosely, watching the effect of the drug on the masses. And when you talk of drugs or vaccines, it is all about risk-benefit ratio. There is no drug that we approve that has been manufactured that doesn't have side effects. No vaccine that doesn't have side effects. It is now what are the benefits compared to the risks. That is basic in all research or drug development research. So the assurance that I'm giving to the watching audience is many billions have taken this AstraZeneca vaccine. The post-marketing surveillance is in place. Primary health, NAFDAC, 40 people from NAFDAC, 80 from primary health were retrained in active pharmacovigilance. So we were already getting prepared for this. And we are actually, what will I call it, on guard, so to say, in terms of what to do. So that is the assurance that I'm going to give to the watching audience.
Well, I do hope that whoever is watching this morning will feel the reassurance that you are passing across. But what do you say to those who say that we are paying undue attention to vaccine development, when ideally what we should be paying attention to is our healthcare system in general? They say the amount of money which you're going to sink into vaccines could be, yes, it is needed, but we might achieve a lot more for our healthcare systems if we're going to sink at least half that amount of money into developing our healthcare system. What would you say to them?
That thought is so well placed, is very well placed. But, you know, we never knew we were going to get a second wave. We all losing our guards around November, October last year, and then we started the second wave. We never knew what is going to, nobody knows what is going to happen. Thank God that Ebola was contained quickly. Millions of Nigeria will have died. That is why it is good to also focus on, or to pay attention on vaccine research and development. However, just like you said, we need to pay attention to health sector in general. We need to pay attention to research and development in our universities, in our research institutes. We need to pay attention to local manufacturing. We are too dependent on foreign goods. And sometimes I don't know what is the problem. Unless it is made overseas, we don't even want to use it. That is part of what NAFDAC is doing now to make sure that the pharmaceutical industry is so strong. I grew up with a strong pharmaceutical industry where expatriates will be going back to their country and they will buy medicines from Nigeria. That is what we are working on right now in NAFDAC, because when NAFDAC is strong, the pharmaceutical industry is strong. When the pharmaceutical industry is strong, we have drug security. And the whole country becomes healthier. So the thought about local content, extremely important. The government is paying attention now to helping the pharmaceutical industry with very low interest rates to rebuild their infrastructure. CBN has the Health Sector Research and Development Intervention Scheme to encourage R&D, translational R&D that will lead to product. So we started, I won't say too late, we started late, but we have to move on. And the government is supporting it. Thank God for COVID. So the thoughts of whoever is thinking that are well placed, but we are laying emphasis. The government now is trying to partner with other countries to develop our R&D or to move it further in vaccine technology, just like they are paying attention to the local manufacturers. As we speak, foreign companies are now partnering with local pharmaceutical manufacturers in Nigeria because we have strengthened it. We have made it more stringent in terms of who is low risk or what company is low risk or high risk. And the one that is high risk, we give them compliance directives. If you meet up 1, 2, 3, 4 address compliance directives that we gave you, you can move to medium risk. So now the world is looking at our pharmaceutical industry to partner with them, because you don't want to partner with the high risk companies. But once they know that you're set up as somebody in charge of a company, your setup is comparable to ones that they know overseas, why not? They will partner with us. So we are moving ahead, and I believe that the will from the government will keep pushing it ahead. Thank you.
And as we wind down, are we doing anything with Johnson & Johnson?
Yes, we are doing something with Johnson & Johnson. We are looking at okay. That is because there are two parts to getting vaccines. You can get vaccines from the COVAX facility, which is the one that will be donated to take care of 20% of the population. And Nigeria is also looking to sourcing their own vaccines because it's not, 20% is not enough. So we are looking at that, and we are expecting the dossier from Johnson & Johnson, and after which, we'll make our pronouncement, but we don't have the dossier yet.
Just a quick one. You have said this over and over again, the potential of phytomedicine in Nigeria. The Vice President has said it. You said it when this news broke, that our low-hanging fruit was herbal medicine. How far so far with that one, with all the research and the committee that you put together? How far so far? When are we going to get the first phytomedicine that can go the whole 9 yards in Nigeria?
You have come to my own soft spot. It is a soft spot for me because I grew up with herbal medicines, with parents that are not fully literate. In terms of what is going on right now, we have a setup. Okay, we have a setup of researchers and herbal medicine practitioners forming pairs. Without forming pairs, we cannot move our herbal medicine research forward, because the practitioners know more than the researcher in terms of what works. But the practitioner don't know how much, when. They just know that it works. That was how I was brought up. So we are now pairing them together, and part of the research and development intervention scheme has these pairs that have submitted applications, not just listing. It is good to list with NAFDAC, so that, you know, at least that product that was being used as a book before, without measures and whatnot, can now be used and sold, having determined in the lab that it is safe to use. But what is the efficacy? That is what clinical trial is going to bring, and that is part of what is going to be done through this pairing of researchers and practitioners for this particular intervention scheme. But we need to encourage that. You know, research is very costly. And when God has surrounded us with so much biodiversity, what else can we ask? Sometimes I think we are a Garden of Eden with natural products, but we have to do research on it. I will not be surprised whether maybe in about 18 months, somebody will come up with a product that is antiviral. It is not just immune boosters. Immune boosters is fine, but it is antiviral, and it will help with COVID-19. But we are already working that out, and NAFDAC is taking it so seriously. I gave a directive that all herbal medicines in our pipeline, applications rather, in our pipeline must be reviewed expeditiously, with expedited process, so that our part will be done. And then when they want to go to clinical trial part, we will also expedite the clinical trial protocol review. This is because we need it so much in Nigeria. We have so much, unbelievably, so that we just cannot allow that to waste. So that will be my own contribution or comment about medicine and forward.
We'll certainly look forward to when all of that will come to fruition, but we do thank you for talking to us this morning, Professor Mojisola Adeye, Director General of NAFDAC.
Thank you so much. Always good to be here. Thank you.
All right. We're back in a moment. Stay with us.
Indeed, that is our next guest. You can already see him being introduced by the slide there. His Excellency Bala Mohammed, Governor of Bauchi State, is with us in the studio. Your Excellency, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have me.
Well, it's been a series of meetings, I imagine. There was a meeting with the President, Nigeria Governors Forum, meeting with the President sometime this week. And shortly after, we also saw the NEC meeting, National Economic Council meeting, where I think for the first time, governors are attending physically. They normally would do it virtually.
Yeah.
Perhaps it also underscored the seriousness of the situation at hand. And this week, nowhere else, no other state has felt it as much as Niger State. This week, we saw people being kidnapped in a transport service owned by the state government. Then we saw an attack on the school, on the government science, on the government secondary school in Kagara. Then now we also see an attack on villages in Shiroro in the same Niger State. There are huge questions as to what is going on. All of this is coming on the heels of what has transpired in the southwest of the country. We've seen your brother governors go to the southwest of the country to try and calm tensions down. What is your assessment of all that is happening across the country, especially with regards to security?
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I want to say with all seriousness that this is a very bleak picture for us that you have just painted, and because the security situation is very, very disturbing in the sense that it has gone beyond that manifestation of insecurity, that people are being abducted and people are being killed. Unfortunately, it is even touching on the very fabrics of our existence, our commonality, our unity as a people. And as I was coming here, one of my heroes in Nigeria called me, but I couldn't answer. Those people who made frantic efforts to make sure that Nigeria remains together. I couldn't answer because I was coming into this program. Nigeria is on the brinks, is on the precipice. So many issues of perception, insecurity, and the security agency have thoroughly shown or thrown in the towel, both at the national and the state level.
Have they?
Almost. You have heard what the former chief of staff was saying when he was being interviewed. I was listening. It was as if they have been mesmerized. It was as if they have been pushed to a level where the despondency and desperation has also, frustration has caught up with them, either because of lack of equipment or lack of personnel and so on and so forth. But certainly the situation is very bad. That's why the Nigerian Governors Forum, we met yesterday and day before yesterday, and yesterday we met at the National Economic Council level, and frank talks were made. Issues that were even hidden were brought out. Issues of relationship, issue of utterances and comments that would have widened the gap and the suspicion and the mistrust that is pervading the polity.
Indeed, and for a number of people, they think that underscores why we seem to be on the precipice. Because ideally, if we did see this, from one prism or one perspective, then perhaps we'll all be agreed on how to confront the monster. But it would seem that the problem is that everybody has a different lens from which they're perceiving the problem, and so they think that the solutions will be different. You have expressed your own solution, and I'm sure you've also received some criticism as a result of it. You made an utterance, it will seem, in defense of herdsmen. And that did not go down well with a number of your brother colleagues. Do you have another take on it after you've heard and listened to what they had to say on the matter?
No, I have not changed my opinion on that issue. I was not defending the herdsmen. I was defending Nigerians. And it has always been my decision to make sure that when things are difficult, when leaders are abducting or abdicating their responsibilities, I come to the fore. Ethnic profiling is what I have spoken against, because it is putting us in a situation where the fundamental human rights of Nigerians have been trampled on. And these people are the Fulanis, and they are the majority of the people in the state where I come from. I may not be a complete Fulani man, but the responsibility of educating our colleagues, even at the level of governors, expelling Nigerians that have the right to stay anywhere, under Section 41 of the Constitution, where every crime and criminality is being attached to them, maybe because of their age-long tradition of transhumance and pastoral life. is wrong, because there is no one tribe that can be attached to one crime. And we must do that and be careful, because we have seen what happened in Rwanda. We have seen what happened even in the historical perspective in Germany against the Jews. It is not all Fulanis that are bandits. You have just shown the picture of banditry. It may not be Fulanis. It may be Hausa. It may be my tribesman. It may be a Yoruba man. It may be an Igbo man. So the issue is that we must develop the capacity to fight crime and criminality without necessarily profiling and saying that it is the Fulani herdsman who is so helpless, whose cattle have been rustled, whose wives have been raped, whose even huts have been burnt down, that is behind the criminality or banditry. Banditry is alien to us. Just like armed robbery came and left, and then of course other crime like cyber crime, all of them are coming to Nigeria, and we are not doing as much as would be required by the security agencies to make sure we go to the root cause of it. Rather, we are engaged in blame game.
There's some people who will say, well, we're going to break shortly, there are some people who will say that the Fulanis have lived with us thousands of years, or at least the minimum hundreds of years.
Yes.
Why is it now that all of a sudden it would seem that this is now a problem?
This is the mystery that we must unravel. Who are those Fulani people that are causing this? Are they Fulanis? Or are just people coming outside Nigeria because there is this issue of climate change that is pushing the people, the demographics, the insecurity in the northeast, the Boko Haram. Mind you, these people live with the terrorists and the insurgents in the bush. And some of them are moving southwards for greener pasture. And it is because of that movement that you have an admixture of those that are innocent and those that are not innocent. It is our responsibility to fish out those criminal elements among them. We know that the movement starts from the Senegal, from Niger to into Nigeria.
Your Excellency, I'm going to ask you to hold your thoughts for us. I would let you expatiate a bit more on the matter when we come back from this break.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please stay with us. His Excellency Bala Mohammed, Governor of Bauchi State, is still with us in the studio, and we're talking about the security situation. Well, you were making the point just before we went on break about differentiating, it would seem, between the local Fulani and the foreign Fulani.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, this is what I'm saying, that we have not been able to decipher. And to say that this conflict is not only restricted to the southwestern Nigeria or to the southeast, even within the north. This is the problem of, this is a source of conflict. I have heard my colleagues from Kano and other northern states talking about this movement. What can we do within the ECOWAS protocol to stop this? Because these people, as I said in this forum before, they don't respect borders. And they have kids and kin staying all over the West African sub-region, and they move. But some of them come in with a culture of violence, of insurgency.
If I get you then, it means that we need to make that distinction.
We need to. We need to really do that. Otherwise, we'll be fighting each other. And some people have done so much to make sure we stay together. Because it is not fair you go to a forest and see an innocent Fulani man staying there. He is not connected to your light. He is not connected to your water system. He doesn't even go to your school. You just go and kill him, burn his thatch houses, kill the animals. And that's the only source he has. Because you rightly or wrongly believe that he is the cause of the banditry that inflicted on your community and so on and so forth. That's why I said it is the source of discord that we must be able to really deal with. And in dealing with that, we have to be careful as leaders.
Well, it would seem that some of your brother governors understand.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know whether we have the comment of the Benue State governor on standby. You know, they understand that there is that differentiation, and it would seem that that's what they have been calling for. That those people who come into the country, because they also believe that they have internal collaborators. And it was seen that is where the problem lies.
My problem is that I have mentioned my brother and my colleague, my friend, Governor Autumn of Benue. Yes, we have agreed that the way to go is ranching. The way to go is to control the transhumance and the pastoralism. But you cannot do it overnight. You cannot do it with simultaneously with threat of expulsion, of profiling, of already criminalizing the genuine trade that the Fulani man is doing. That's the difference. The governors have agreed that we will work with the federal government. Some of us will have the largest expanse of land that we can even accommodate some of the Fulanis, but we don't have the resources to develop it. Benue and the Fulanis, they have a primordial relationship for a long time, a relationship of cordiality. You see, the feuds between herders and farmers is the oldest conflict that we have on the universe.
But it has never taken this sort of dimension. Where we see hundreds of people being slaughtered in their homesteads, in their hundreds. Initially, we saw it, I think it started on the plateau. You know, where things degenerated, even though some people argue that also had a political undertone. Then we saw it, you see me moved from Plateau to Kaduna, and then we saw it move to Benue, and then we now begin to see it in parts of the southeast and the south.
It's a mark of leadership. In the Plateau, you can see what the Governor Langon did in terms of community engagement, in terms of trying to understand the source of the conflicts. It has disappeared. It has evaporated. In Bauchi, we have this conflict.
Parts of the plateau where they are still witnessing.
No, not as much as you have mentioned the level of death, of killings, and what have you on the conflict. There appears to be some commonality or harmony on the plateau. And of course, even in Bauchi, 13 people were killed. Fulanis against the Fulanis because of the issue of the right of way. The permission for them to move with their cattle. Some of the traditional rulers, some of the local authority and state forest officers go and sell all the cattle reserve to themselves or to others, and they cannot pass. By the time they pass, they come back, they have already planted something. This is not looked into. I have dealt with it. Unfortunately, I'm not praising myself. I had to even suspend an emir, my own brother, my leader, because I found him culpable. But we investigated. We found that the level of his involvement is not such that he can go. Otherwise, we would have gone. There has to be reward and punishment. There must be decision to take at the level when it will be taken, and nobody should be spared.
Let's talk about some of the measures that some of your brother governors have taken. I do recall in the early days of the conflict in Kaduna State, the governor of that state admitted that he did try to seek reconciliation with the Fulanis, who he said had been upset. They were from outside of the country, and he said he looked for them, had a delegation, and they offered to pay compensation to them, but that did not stop the killings. In fact, now he's against the measures being taken by your brother governor in Zamfara State, who is now saying, look, what we need for these people, bandits also terrorizing his state, is amnesty. He says not all of them are criminals. It was him that they have a unique situation in his state. But we also recall that there was a time when in the Northwest, I don't know if you recall this time, states of the Northwest had a huge problem in terms of foreigners who had invaded the forest. Is that correct?
Yeah.
When the governors had to bandy together and fund military operations to rout out those criminals from the forest. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That was one of the steps that was taken. Now, the governor of Kaduna State says he's going to treat, people who come and carry out criminality in the state as criminals.
Yes.
There is no need to be paying them compensation or giving them amnesty.
Oh, yes. I believe in that.
Do you agree with his position?
I agree 100% with that position. Because there's no way you can just reward criminality with any tinge of persuasion. You have to deal with it decisively within the confines of the law. These people are criminals. They are bandits. They should be dealt with, and they should be tried, and they can be killed because they're killing people.
So is it?
I'm not saying that the criminality by any form of any tribe or by the Fulanis is justified. No. You get the criminals, deal with them decisively. They have caused so much, those criminals, untold hardship. But also, you should look at the other angle, where the Fulani herdsman, the innocent one, has been subjected to a lot of hardship, loss, despair, and frustration. So, and that's why I brought the issue of AK-47. It was just a figure of speech to tell you that one must protect himself.
We will come to that shortly, because a number of governors have also come out to say, let Nigerians carry arms, let everyone be able to protect themselves. But would you say that it is a matter of nomenclature? So, for instance, you've talked about bandits.
Yeah.
In other parts of the country where people are not able to differentiate, or they can only tell people who are different from them,
it's a matter of perception. Because the profiling is what is causing the problem. You have really gotten to the root cause of the problem. It's a matter of nomenclature. Because to an average Nigerian in the south, bandits are just Fulanis. They're herdsmen. It's wrong. They are not. Bandits are criminals. They should be dealt with decisively. And we must muster the courage. Now between Bauchi, Kano, and Kaduna, we have a joint operation with our security operatives, because we have the large expanse of land where these bandits are hiding. And these bandits are not only Fulanis. In fact, they are terrorizing the Fulanis. But they have Fulani miscreants within them. They have Hausa, they have Igbo suppliers, they have Yorubas, they have people that are really benefiting from the illicit trade. So banditry is not restricted to the Fulani. That's what the point I'm trying to make. And that we should not be fighting ourselves, because they are criminals. They should be dealt with decisively.
Let me let my colleague Chamberlain come in on this conversation. Chamberlain.
Oh yeah, Your Excellency, that comment you made previously about the AK-47, which you were going to shed light on. In fact, let's even listen to that again, so you can just shed light on that one.
You have seen what our colleagues in the southwest are doing, and some of them from the southeast. Some of us told them, with all modesty and humility, you are wrong. But the person that is most wrong is the governor of Benue State, my brother and my colleague, Governor Otto. And now, because a Fulani man is practicing the tradition of transhumance, pastoralism, he has been exposed to the vagaries of the forest, the animals, and now the cattle rustlers who carry guns, kill him and take away his commonwealth, that is the cows. He had no option but to carry AK-47. Because the society and the government are not protecting him. What is his fault? It's the fault of the government and the people. You don't criminalize all of them. Nobody owns any forest. The forest is owned by Nigeria. Under Section 23, 24, 25 of the Constitution, every Nigerian is free to stay anywhere.
So, Your Excellency, quite a number of things there. First, when you said that they were forced to carry AK-47, people would think that that seems to be some sort of justification. Could you shed light on what you actually meant on that?
Okay, thank you very much, Chamberlain. It's a pleasure meeting you once again. What I said in that context, I was addressing the media people, and the topic is the use of media to foster national unity. And I was trying to situate the problem the way I was trying to explain to my sister Madufe, that the Fulani man is so exposed, dehumanized, demonized in fact, because he is being seen as a bandit. And so anywhere he goes, he is being pursued, not only in the southwest or in the southeast, even in the north, because he's the cattle routes, his his commonwealth, which I call his cows, are being taken and rustled, and of course sometimes they are fined beyond your imagination. If one cow stray into the farm because the cattle road has been taken away illegally without the authority giving permission, he will be fined seriously, mercilessly, and so he is exposed. And then he has no option but to protect himself. We have so many vigilante groups in Nigeria. Even at the level of government, sub-regional groups, subnationals are establishing vigilante groups to make sure that the communities are protected. Why wouldn't the Fulani man also be protect himself? And if he carries a gun in order to protect himself, it may not be a legal carriage. It may be legal. He may also register and carry it to protect himself. But it's a figure of speech to say, to show you the despondency, the desperation, the frustration, and the agony that this particular person is exposed to by his own people, by his own tribe, by other tribes who have all seen him as a criminal. And therefore, he has the inalienable right to protect himself.
You see, people can't protect themselves, but is it right for anyone in this country to bear AK-47 assault rifles?
You see, Chamberlain, usually when we mention AK-47, it's a figure of speech. I mean, the issue is protection, self-help. You must protect yourself. You have seen the context with which I mentioned AK-47. It's just to show you that people are, because they say AK-47 carrying Fulani men. And because of the level of exposure these people are exposed to, I said they must carry, they have no option but to protect. The issue, the key word is self-protection and self-help, which we have Ametokun that are carrying weapons. We have vigilantes that are carrying weapons. There must be some sort of approval. But what I am saying is not to legalize carrying of AK-47. I must be understood. I was just trying to situate the problem to the extent that the desperation is too much and there is no help from anywhere, both from the communities, even from the kings and kin, both from the local authorities, from the subnationals, and even from the federal government.
Well, Your Excellency,
so what do you do in the absence of any help?
You
just sit down and sit down in your hut, and then people come and kill you. So, in the name of the tag that you have been asked to wear, the profiling that you are a criminal when you are not. But you see, I understand after our meeting, some of the videos are fake. And I want to tell Nigerians they are fake. Which videos? What happened in the Southwest after some of the pronouncements, especially in Oyo and in Ogun, is unfortunate because people just believe what they hear. You know, where is Moses Igado? Iboho. There was on a spree, killing spree. Nobody has arrested him. Nobody has done anything to him. What is he? Is he a bandit? Was he allowed to carry a weapon? Why have we not questioned ourselves that this man that was killing people, he was never brought to book?
That's but Your Excellency, I think part of what...
we must respect our ethnic groups and our ethnic configuration. We cannot continue to push people to the precipice and then at the end of the day, we as leaders, heading states, will be managing reprisal. In Bauchi, I had to hold a meeting and tell people that, look, this is not true. These are fake news. And of course, everybody agreed because we have been so intermingled. We cannot play this dangerous game. And we cannot continue to expel Nigerians from one place to the other when they are innocent. What we need to do is, if we are profiling, is to profile the good and the bad. Because in every tribe, there is the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Well, you know, we've always said that, they can't paint everybody with one brush. And I think that was part of what you alluded to at the initial stage when you say there are criminal elements across board in every area. And I think anyone who, or those who are bearing AK-47, for you it might have been a figure of speech, but there are several images, and people have seen some herdsmen who bear AK-47, and that is not allowed by law.
Those carrying illegal AK-47, killing people, should be apprehended and killed. They should be dealt with within the confines of the law. What I said about the AK-47 carrying carriage is the issue of protection, self-help. Not to say that I have legalized or there is any law that legalizes somebody to carry arms without authority or without any form of permission.
Well, Your Excellency, part of the comments you also made was that all forests belong to all Nigerians. Meanwhile, there are those they designate as forest reserves. Could you clear the air on that? Because some might say that the comment you made means that there shouldn't be any forest reserves.
Forest reserves are forest reserves designated under the Land Use Act because every land has a land used. I'm somebody that is very conversant with managing land. Land is in the hands of state governors and the federal government in trust. But Nigerians don't need the permission of governors or the federal government to settle anywhere, either to be in Lagos or it to be in the forest or the lagoon of Lagos. Every Nigerian is free to settle everywhere. You don't need a permission of the governor of Bauchi or the governor of Ondo to be in the forest of Bauchi or Ondo if you choose to live in the forest. Because under Section 41 of the Constitution, you are free to settle. That's why I said the forest belongs to Nigeria under the Land Use Act. But certainly it's in trust, held by the state governors and the federal government, and specifically in the hands of the FCT minister.
Well,
I don't mean to say that land cannot be controlled.
Okay. Well,
or cannot be managed, but to say that this land that we are talking, this forest that we are talking about, yes, belongs to the state and the federal government, and Nigerians don't need our permission to settle there, and therefore nobody should expel any man from any forest or any city or any town, except if he is found to be criminal and it is not expulsion, he should be arrested and punished.
Well, Your Excellency, there's something you said earlier about, dichotomizing certain classes of people. But 2 years ago, this is what you said, and I'd like you to clear it if you still hold the same view.
Why should federal government use resources for this country to accommodate Fulani men who are not Nigerians?
You see, as I said, we are already accommodating them. Do you delineate and then really know who is not a Fulani man from Nigeria? They are all Nigerians, because I said their identity, their own citizenship is Nigerian, even though we have relations all over the world, all over Africa. And so, presumably they are Nigerians.
But earlier today, you said we need to begin to delineate.
Yeah, this is unfolding. You see, commonality or society is dynamic. In the olden days, there was no any bandit Fulani or killing Fulani killer. Every Fulani is a Fulani. We didn't know about these people that came from nowhere. And the security have not told us from where they are coming from. What I meant is to situate the position of the Fulani as a global citizen, as a continental citizen, coming from the Senegal to Niger to Chad into Nigeria and going back. And we have not stopped this. We even backed it legally with an ECOWAS protocol that they can move. And so these people have been coming and going back peacefully. And suddenly we saw people killing. And they have that semblance, that characteristic of Fulani people. So that's why I said now we need to profile, not on the basis of saying all of them are criminals, but knowing, deciphering. I said it in that meeting, that knowing the criminal and the innocent. But certainly, I'm not saying that all Fulanis are just citizens of Nigeria per se, because they are coming from Senegal also, because they don't stay in one place. As I told you the other day, from the maternal side, I have my relations in the Cameroon. They are there, they are my relations. It is just like a Yoruba man in Nigeria, his kids and kin are in Benin Republic. You cannot stop them. I serve in Oyo State.
Your Excellency.
In the area where I serve, we can move. We can cross the border.
Well,
that is Shaki. You know it, my brother. And so this tribal affinity is there. And these borders that we have is difficult to really create that demarcation. Clearly, but certainly now, we have to do it. Our security forces must do it. We must know who are those criminal Fulanis.
Well, Your Excellency,
we must know who are those criminal Hausas, who are those criminal Igbos, who are those criminal Yorubas. We must do that. But doing that holistically and without prejudice will definitely give us the kind of harmony we need as a nation.
All right, just one moment. Your Excellency, just a moment, because we're running out of time, but there's something that has already been done by northern governors, one of which you are, and that is to ban open grazing. In the event that there are people who go ahead because they still haven't gotten the memo, because as you said, they are transhumans, they are nomads and all of that, what are the consequences?
You see, open grazing has not been banned. What the northern governors are saying that the best thing to do is to go for ranching. Open grazing is good if we ban it and we invite the practice of ranching. But there must be persuasion. There must be transition from this transhumance, because this heading that you see is a trade. It's a famine. You cannot stop my person from farming millet and tell him, don't farm millet, do corn, because you must show him the benefit of it. The Fulani man definitely will agree if we are given the opportunity by the federal government. Our problem is resources. Yes, now the situation has reached a situation where this system is no longer tenable, even to them, because they are exposed to the vagaries of the forest. They are exposed to the problems and challenges of even their own kids and kin who are criminals. So we need to protect them by going into ranching. And that's why I wouldn't be the person to break the ice, but we have made several recommendations to His Excellency, Mr. Vice President, and to the federal government, so that some of us with large expanse of lands can provide solution to this problem by ranching. But there must be a transition. It is not just a clamp down, ranching, banning of open grazing, or expulsion. That is not good.
Well, I don't know if you have been able to, if you have now reconciled, you know, with your brother governor in Ondo State over, and maybe your brother governor in Benue State. But you were former FCT minister, and only today we're reading that the FCT has banned open grazing. I don't know if you, on your way here, you saw cattle around the FCT, but they are becoming a common sight. Were they a headache for you too while you were minister?
Going to my brother, Autumn, I have no problem with him. My problem with Autumn is that Autumn knows that he is my friend. And the affinity and the primordial harmony between the Tivman and the Fulani has been destroyed during his regime because of this ban on open grazing and expulsion. If I go back to history, there was a saying that a Fulani man would allow his cattle to stray into a Tivman's farm, and the Tivman ate them. And when he asked them, he said, Munchi, we have eaten them. And they became playmates. That cordiality has been destroyed. I'm so sad. And going back to Oyo, Ondo, I can't understand where a governor, a senior advocate of Nigeria.
You didn't think there was a misreading of his statement? I mean, have you seen did you see the statement which he released?
No, I have seen the abuses, the encomium he passed on me, but I have given him benefit. Maybe he didn't understand.
I'm talking about the initial statement that the Ondo State government released. Yeah. Did you see it? The 4-paragraph statement.
Yes, it's just coming to expulsion, that they should leave the forest. That is the summary of it. And he did not know that they have rights to stay in the forest. That's what I'm saying.
Including forest reserves?
Which forest reserves? Fulanis are in the forest reserve. Which forest reserve? To do reserve for what? Grazing is what we have. The land, the forest is reserved for that. Is it reserved for what?
Okay,
that Fulani should not enter the forest.
Don't
ask him.
I think that, while governors are, clearing that, what do you make of the ban on open grazing in the FCT as one who formerly headed the FCT administration?
When I was here, I didn't allow open grazing in the FCT. I control it. I made sure that cattle are not coming into the town because they are destroying the city in terms of defecation, in terms of causing traffic chaos. And it is not meant for that. But I must reason with my brother, the Minister of FCT. It is not easy stopping them. They come from different routes, 1,000 routes. Yes, the Environment Department can enforce it. And once the law is there, it can be enforced. They are supposed to stay in the periphery, not in the city. And I'm happy that the minister is taking that decision, and I support him because this is not where they should be. And many people are concerned. You have seen it along the airport. Sometimes you stay for hours waiting for cattle to pass. Yes.
Well, it's definitely not, I don't know what to say to that, but let's leave it there. Your Excellency, the Governor of Bauchi State, Mr. Bala Mohammed, we have to thank you so much for coming to share your thoughts.
Thank you.
On Sunrise Daily this morning. We're hoping that this is an ongoing conversation, at least until we're pulled back from the precipice and, final action is taken for the protection of all Nigerians.
Yeah.
We believe the conversation will be ongoing. Well, that's where we have to leave it for Sunrise Daily this morning. We thank you for sending in your comments and questions, but I think I will have to be on Monday. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Mal, where are you going yourself?
It looks as if we have to take okay.
All right. Well, very quick one. Dr. Uhumavi is interested in the topic on hand. Solution to security in Nigeria is in the hands of sociologists, historians, anthropologists, economists, and lawyers. We need knowledge intersections. That's one. And there are several others, Brosugo, Nomase, and so many others. Musa Mohammed, thank you all for your comments. As Marquez said, we'll probably take the rest of them on Monday.
Yep.
Have a wonderful weekend. I'm Ayo Makide.
I'm Chamberlain Uso. See you next time.